Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are cracking open the sources on methylene blue, or MB, this molecule that's really having a huge scientific moment right now.
It really is. It's moving from being, a historical footnote in a dye into the spotlight. It's being seen as one of the most potent, targeted agents for cellular health we have today.
Right.
And our sources on MB are fascinating. They lay out, I think it's over a dozen potential benefits, but they also give us the biological blueprint, how it works, and really importantly, the safety stuff you have to know.
Okay.
So our mission here is to give you a comprehensive, fast, and responsible shortcut to understanding this really active compound.
Got it. So maybe let's start with a bit of history first. MB is synthetic, right?
Yep, synthesized way back in 1876, primarily as a textile dye, that brilliant blue color.
Oh, okay.
But it pretty quickly found its way into medicine. It was actually one of the first successful anti-malarial drugs, also an antiseptic.
So why is this old substance suddenly so relevant again? For cellular health, specifically.
Well, the key is how it's classified. It's a redox agent.
Redox agent.
Yeah, if you look at the structure, methylthioneinium chloride is the full name. Its core feature lets it grab and donate electrons incredibly fast. This redox cycling ability, that's the real aha moment for this whole deep dive.
Okay, redox action. Let's unpack that. At the core level, you mentioned mitochondria, the cell's power plants.
Yeah.
How does MB actually interact with them?
Okay, so think about your mitochondria running the electron transport chain, the ETC, to make energy, ATP.
Yeah.
Sometimes that chain gets a bit, let's say, gummed up. Energy production slows, electrons leak out, and that creates harmful free radicals.
Okay.
MB basically steps in and acts like a molecular electron shunt.
Like a cellular energy bypass road.
Exactly. Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
MB intercepts those electrons and kind of pushes them further down the chain, bypassing the blockages.
Okay.
And this has two immediate, really profound effects. First, it boosts ATP production efficiency, more energy. Simple as that.
More energy.
Second, by making the process cleaner, it seriously cuts down on that electron leakage. So less formation of reactive oxygen species. You could call it cellular rust.
Okay, so if we get that core idea, MB supercharges mitochondrial energy and reduces oxidative stress. That explains why it seems to have such a ridiculously broad list of benefits, starting right at the top with the brain.
Yeah, let's talk neurology. MB is pretty unique because it easily crosses the blood-brain barrier, right?
Right.
So what does that energy boost mean once it gets inside our neurons?
Well, in short, protection and power. MB's mechanism is, directly targeted at neuroprotection. Neurons are incredibly hungry for energy.
Right.
And when their mitochondria fail, those cells die. So by improving mitochondrial function, boosting ATP specifically in the brain, MB helps safeguard those nerve cells from metabolic failure and also the chronic inflammation that often comes with decline.
You mentioned memory retention in the sources. What's the research saying about its impact on conditions involving memory loss, like Alzheimer's? Yeah, it seems to contribute to sustained neuronal health. And there's a lot of research looking into neurodegeneration models. For instance, in mouse models relevant to Alzheimer's specifically, ones induced by D-galactose MB was actually shown to lower amyloid levels.
Wow.
And reduce oxidative damage in the hippocampus. That's the brain's memory center. So it's helping maintain the integrity of that crucial machinery.
That sounds huge for long-term health, but what about just day-to-day performance, mood?
It seems to support overall brain function, optimizing oxygen use, regulating neurotransmitter release. Studies show some clear antidepressant and anti-anxiety effects.
Okay.
And here's something really specific and quite fascinating. It's being explored for potential use in PTSD.
Really? How?
The idea is that MB might stimulate the neurons involved in what's called extinction learning. That's the brain process for successfully decreasing or even eliminating a conditioned fear response.
That's amazing. For cognitive emotional resilience, it really sounds like this molecule touches almost every energy-hungry cell.
It really does. When you boost cellular efficiency like that, the benefits just ripple outwards. And a great place to see that impact is the skin. It's constantly under oxidative attack from the environment, right?
True. So what are the specific benefits for skin vitality, anti-aging? It's not just another topical antioxidant cream, is it?
Oh, it's far more fundamental than that. MB acts as a really efficient redox agent right there in the dermal layers.
Yeah.
It reduces that oxidative stress that contributes to wrinkles, fine lines.
Okay.
But here's the really compelling detail from lab studies. MB doesn't just treat damage. It actively increases the proliferation of skin fibroblasts.
Wait, fibroblasts. Those are the cells that make collagen and elastin, right?
Exactly.
That sounds like you're actually turning back the clock at the cellular level.
Pretty much. The sources show it delays senescence. That's when cells stop dividing and repairing, and it promotes increased skin hydration and a thicker, healthier dermal layer. It's like boosting the internal engine of the skin cells, making them structurally younger.
And that energy boost, does that translate to better systemic function too, like recovery after exercise?
Yes, absolutely. That mitochondrial bypass road we talked about. It's essential for efficient tissue repair, muscle repair, faster recovery from fatigue after physical strain. Improving that mitochondrial transport chain helps stabilize the oxidative balance, letting tissues rebuild quicker, cleaner.
Okay, let's pivot to two other major energy users, the eyes and our metabolism. Why is MB being looked at for vision protection?
Well, the retina is arguably one of the most metabolically demanding tissues in the body and highly oxidatively stressed.
Makes sense.
So MB's potent antioxidant properties, plus that energy boost, they protect retinal integrity. It helps neutralize the constant free radical damage that contributes to age-related retinal degeneration. And it's being studied for mitigating oxidative stress in conditions like glaucoma, too.
Okay, now let's get to probably the most striking claim I saw in the sources regarding systemic energy, the metabolism increase. The source claims MB can increase resting metabolism by up to 42%. I mean, that sounds almost too good to be true. What's the context there?
Yeah, that figure is definitely striking, and it really highlights the molecule's potential. This was observed in specific in vivo models, laboratory settings.
Okay.
It showed MB facilitating efficient ATP synthesis and really powerfully stimulating glucose metabolism. Now, while 42% might be the upper bound seen in those highly controlled research settings, the key takeaway is solid. MB demonstrably increases the activity of key mitochondrial complexes I through 3.
Right.
And that supports substantial fat oxidation and greater cellular energy expenditure even when you're at rest. So those efficiency gains really do seem to be systemic. And beyond just pure energy, MB also plays some key roles in handling toxins and fighting off threats.
Right, and its primary FDA-approved use is maybe the most dramatic example of that detoxification role, isn't it?
Absolutely. Treating methemoglobinemia, that's a really dangerous condition where your hemoglobin basically stops carrying oxygen effectively.
Life-threatening.
Potentially, yes. MB activates an enzyme, the NADPH methemoglobin reductase enzyme, which converts that faulty methemoglobin back into functional oxygen-carrying hemoglobin. It's an immediate reversal.
Wow.
Plus, it also modulates nitric oxide pathways, and that's critical for stabilizing dangerously low blood pressure, like in cases of septic shock.
And on the flip side, fighting threats, it seems to offer both direct action and support for our immune cells.
Correct. We know its antioxidant properties help combat the chronic inflammation that can weaken the immune system over time. But it also has direct antimicrobial and antiviral action. It seems to interfere with microbial metabolism and replication. And by ensuring our immune cells, like key cells, have optimal energy, it helps guarantee a faster, more targeted response when we do face an infection.
Okay, before we get into safety, which is crucial, let's quickly touch on its composition and that unique light sensitivity thing.
Sure. So the active ingredient, methylthioninium chloride, has that thiazine core structure. That's what gives it its blue color. And that property also leads to its photosensitizing capabilities. It means it absorbs certain wavelengths of light. This is why it's being used experimentally in something called photodynamic therapy.
How does that work?
When it's activated by light, it becomes much more reactive, generating reactive oxygen species, specifically to disrupt unwanted cells like pathogens or maybe even tumor cells in experimental settings.
Interesting. Okay. And one more benefit before safety sleep. How does boosting mitochondrial efficiency possibly lead to better rest? That seems counterintuitive, maybe.
You'd think, but sleep quality is deeply tied to brain stability. When neurons are stressed, dealing with high oxidative damage, they struggle to transition smoothly through stable sleep stages.
Ah, okay.
So MB seems to enhance sleep quality by stabilizing brain activity, reducing that oxidative stress, and promoting overall circadian rhythm stability. Essentially, by cleaning up the neural environment and making sure energy stores are optimal, the brain can achieve those deeper, more restorative sleep cycles needed for real rest and memory consolidation.
Okay, now we absolutely have to shift gears to the most critical section of this deep dive. Safety, how it's administered, purity, and the non-negotiable reasons not to use it. Because this molecule is so powerful, the risks are just as serious. Let's start with a major clarification around cancer treatment.
Yes, we need to be absolutely crystal clear on this. Methylene Blue is not approved for cancer treatment, full stop.
Okay.
While our sources do mention its use in preclinical studies, particularly for photodynamic therapy where it's activated by light to damage cells.
The light thing again.
Exactly. That is purely experimental in that context. It is not a clinical treatment for cancer.
Right. And purity is obviously vital with something this active. If someone is even thinking about internal use, what do they need to know about quality?
You hit the nail on the head. Because MB started life as an industrial dye, purity matters immensely. Only pharmaceutical-grade MB is safe for internal use.
Why is that?
Industrial grades are often contaminated. Heavy metals, other toxic additives, things that could cause serious harm. And the difficulty here is that finding guaranteed pharmaceutical-grade MB outside of a proper medical or pharmacy setting can be really challenging. It requires serious vetting.
And the dosage. Looking at the sources, the amounts vary wildly depending on what it's being used for.
Hugely. And that's exactly why medical oversight is non-negotiable. For instance, a dose suggested for cognitive support might be around, say, 0.5 to 4 milligrams per kilogram, taken orally.
Okay.
But if a doctor is treating acute methemoglobinemia in a hospital, they might use 1 to 2 milligrams per kilogram intravenously. That's a massive dose difference delivered differently because the goal is immediate life-saving stabilization.
Right.
And then for long-term use in research for things like mood disorders, oral doses around 15 to 60 milligrams per day have been tested. Very different scales.
So is daily use safe then for just general supplementation?
Not without strict medical supervision. The long-term safety data for that kind of supplementation just isn't there yet. Remember, MB is a potent redox agent. If you use it excessively or incorrectly, you risk messing with the cell's natural, very delicate redox balance. You could potentially cause more harm than good over time.
Okay. What about immediate side effects people might notice, the common ones?
Common ones can include things like headaches, nausea, maybe some dizziness. But the most visible and usually harmless effect is the blue or green tint to the urine.
Ah, the dye effect.
Exactly. Occasionally, the skin might get a bluish tinge, too.
Okay, now let's really hammer home the severe warnings. The absolute reasons someone must avoid MB. These are the non-negotiables.
Yes, this cannot be stressed enough. First, methylene blue must be avoided if you have glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, G6PD deficiency. It's a critical enzyme protecting red blood cells. If you have this deficiency and take MB, there's a very high risk of acute hemolytic anemia, basically. Your red blood cells get destroyed rapidly. It can be life-threatening. You absolutely must know your G6PD status before even considering this molecule.
That's crucial. And the second major red flag involves a very common class of medications.
Yes, serotonergic medications. This includes many common antidepressants, SSRIs, MAOIs, even some opioids and other drugs.
Why is that combination dangerous?
MB interacts with the serotonin system. Combining it with these drugs creates a potentially lethal risk of serotonin syndrome.
What does that look like?
Symptoms are severe. Agitation, confusion, hallucinations, rapid, irregular heart rate. It's a medical emergency. This interaction demands absolute caution and avoidance.
Okay, and finally, pregnancy and breastfeeding.
Completely contraindicated, no question. Usage is linked to fetal toxicity, specifically fetal hemolytic anemia, and a severe developmental issue called intestinal atresia. It also poses serious risks to a nursing infant due to its oxidative effects. Safer alternatives must always be chosen. So to wrap it up, methylene blue is this historically known compound that's really getting a new lease on life scientifically. It's a supremely potent redox agent. It fundamentally impacts cellular energy production by acting as that temporary electron carrier in the mitochondria.
That bypass road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that action seems to create this incredibly wide spectrum of physiological benefits, improving efficiency from the neurons deep in your brain right down to the fibroblasts in your skin.
Nice.
But it absolutely requires pharmaceutical purity and really strict medical vigilance because it's powerful, and those contraindications, those safety risks are potentially very dangerous.
It's clear it's a bioenergetic powerhouse, but yeah, one that demands immense respect for its immediate cellular impact. So, given MB's profound influence on mitochondrial function and that cellular redox balance, which, as we've heard, can be remarkably protective or seriously disruptive depending on the dose and your individual physiology, like having G6PD deficiency, the question for you, the listener, to consider is this. How will the increasing availability of powerful bioenergetic agents like MB shift our reliance from, say, treating established diseases towards proactively managing cellular efficiency itself? And maybe more importantly, what level of stringent medical oversight will be absolutely necessary for that shift to be safe?